Hello and welcome to My Delicious Food. Today we're going to make tortillas. We're going to make flour tortillas and we're going to make corn tortillas. I don't always make the corn tortillas. I leave those for a special occasion, but I think most people are familiar with the flour tortillas, or as we call them up here in the Northeast, wraps. Okay, so first thing we're going to get started with is explaining my hair, because not many people have seen me with this crazy hair. It's called COVID coping. I didn't want to straighten my hair today, so it's curly. This is what it normally looks like, so don't be scared. It's still me. It's still naughty. All right, so let's get started with the tortillas. So I've already gone ahead and taken 3 cups of all-purpose flour and put them in this trusty bowl. Now, this is the only bowl that I make tortillas in, and in a lot of Hispanic households, there's one bowl that's designated just for tortillas. When I was growing up, it was a giant bowl. There was a family of 10, so you can imagine how many tortillas we had to make. But this is my bowl, and we're very territorial about our bowls for tortillas. I once had a friend that used somebody's tortilla bowl. Okay, the friend was me, for something else, and the person whose tortilla bowl I used was really mad. So respect the tortilla bowl. So this bowl is probably, I'm going to say, at least 30 years old. I bought it, I think, at like one of those Dollar General stores or whatever. But I've used it ever since. So hopefully it hasn't leached too much chemicals into our tortillas over the years. Okay, so 3 cups of all-purpose flour. It's very simple. Half a teaspoon of baking powder. Some people don't use baking powder in theirs. I do. And 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to assume this is a teaspoon because I'm not wearing my glasses, so. And I'm generous with my salt. I actually use a little bit more than that because I love salt and bacon, but we can't put bacon in here. All right, so then the best ingredient that goes in there is 1/3 cup of lard. Now this is high heat rendered lard. It's a very high quality. It's really good for you. I know everybody thinks, oh my God, it's lard, I shouldn't be using it, but that's what goes in next. But before we get to that part, I already dripped a little bit in there, I'm sorry. We have to make sure that baking powder and that salt is really, really mixed in there with the flour so it gets everywhere and we don't just get one piece that has it. Okay? All right, I think that's nicely blended. So now we add in our lard. And this is at room temperature. You can take it right out of the refrigerator and it's a little bit solid. You can find lard in most stores now. I like to go to the Spanish markets. They have the best lard. And there's a really good one here in this area in New Haven. All right, here we go. Let's mix it up with our hands. Don't be afraid to use your hands. It's okay. Most pastries you don't want to use your hands because it warms up the solids like the butters and then the shortenings and things like that, but this is okay. So you're going to get this texture like this. See those little crumbs in there? That's what you want. When it gets to that point, now we're ready to add our water. Okay? So it's warm water. We start off with a cup of water, and you just drizzle a little at a time. Just a little at a time. Mix it in with your hands again. And some recipes or some people will tell you don't use your hands, but we've always done it this way in my family, and that's what we're gonna do. Whoa, that was a little more than a little, huh? But that's okay. So we want to get our dough so that it's all nice mixed up. Okay. And we don't want it to be too dry, so keep adding your water. And it's gonna be a little bit sticky in the end, but it's okay. We want it to be a little bit sticky. Just sticky enough that it pulls away from the bowl. And if you add too much water, don't be afraid. Just add a little more flour if it gets way too sticky, but I think it will. All right, and there's a little bit of flour at the bottom, so I'm just gonna add a little more water to get all that in there. Okay, make sure your bowl should be nice and clean by the time you mix it in well, and it should still be a little sticky, as you can tell. Okay, see how it still sticks to my hand? That's okay, that's how we want it. All right, when you get it to this point, now you're gonna take it out of the bowl and you put it on your counter, and then we're gonna knead this for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And you're going to just knead. You roll it, fold it into itself, and knead it, and knead it, and knead it. And we're going to take a little break and show you what the finished product is after 10 minutes of kneading. And we're back. It's been 10 minutes, and I want to show you what the dough has done now. Before we started kneading it, it was sticking to the what do you call this thing? The counter. And now look at it. Look how pliable it is. But we're not done yet. Now we have to take this dough and we have to let it rest. But before I let it rest, I make it into little balls. Now everybody makes different things. I'm going to show you little balls because that's traditionally what most people do. And you put these on a cookie sheet that's lined with a little bit of, dusted with a little bit of flour if you want. Or you can leave them on the counter. I usually leave them on the counter like this. And then you just keep making balls until you've got it all you need, okay? And then you try and keep them the same size. Now, I don't usually make balls. I make little just like this because I'm still kneading it and still working that gluten. And I make these little discs by shoving the dough back in and of itself like this. And then I let those discs rest. And that's how we've always done it back home. Okay, but I already have some that's rested. Once you get all your balls or discs rolled out, you're going to cover them with a piece of plastic and let them rest another 10 minutes. I know it's a lot of resting, but that's how dough works, okay? But I've already gone ahead and done some. So we're going to put these away for now. All right, and let me grab that. So here we have it. They're all nice and rested. The gluten has had time to rest, and it'll be nice and easy to roll out. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and start my griddle so we can put our tortillas on it. Start getting it warm. All right, let me grab my trusty rolling pin. All right, here's my rolling pin. This rolling pin has been many places with me, all over different countries when I used to travel with the Air Force, and then later with working as for a contractor, a Department of Defense contractor. So if we did this dough right, our tortillas should roll right out. I'm going to move this over to the side. And I'm a little bit thirsty. We can have a little drink. So cheers to you. And cheers to me. All right, so here we go. The secret to making perfectly round tortillas is equal pressure from the center out. So you press out. Flip. Press out. Press from the center out. See how nice they are? If they start to spring back on you, it's because you haven't let them rest enough. They should not spring back on you. They should just spread and stay that way. Okay? Then we just give them a little tug. Make sure that they're all nice and round. And we let them, I put them on the edge of my bowl and I keep making them until we get our pan nice and hot. Let's see if our pan's hot. How do we know if our pan's hot? We drop a little bit of water on it, and if it dances, it's good to go. Let's see. Whoa, yeah, they're dancing like crazy, aren't they? Look at that. A little too much water. Okay, so. I know that was super satisfying for Izzy to watch, but we don't need that water in there right now. Okay, so then you just put your tortilla on there. And when we make the corn tortillas, I'll show you the difference on the way you put your tortillas down. When your tortillas get done, you put them in your tortilla basket. You can get these anywhere, the markets and things like that. They sell them with plastic. If you don't have that, just get a bowl, line it with some paper towels, and it just keeps them warm while you're making them. And how do we know when it's ready, when our tortillas are ready to come off the pan or the griddle? Is they start to bubble a little. It's not quite there yet. Sometimes you have to play around with the flame because it doesn't, you don't know what temperature it's getting, at that's good enough for your tortillas not to burn. So just mess around with it a little bit. Medium heat usually works okay. You see how the little bubbles are starting to form? That's when you know it's almost time to flip them. And you can use a spatula. Again, like I said, I use my fingers because oh, look at that. Perfect little brown spots, and then it'll puff up a little bit and they'll be ready to go. It doesn't take very long for the tortillas to cook. So Once we get this one done, we'll move on to our corn tortillas. There you go. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect tortilla. Look at the little heart on there. Oh, it loves me. And then we just put those in our warmer and we continue on with the next ones. So let me make one more. I like making them, so let's make one more. And then we can make some corn tortillas. So let's make another one. I like watching them. I like ruling them out, I should say. I just like watching them. And growing up, it was bad luck to eat the first one. I'm not sure if that's really true. I think it's something that mamas tell you so that the kids don't eat all the tortillas at once, because it's hard to resist. I mean, my favorite thing was to get a tortilla, put butter on it. Oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. It really is. All right, we just put that guy right on. And we let that cook. And while we're waiting for that one to cook, we can start talking about our masa, corn flour tortillas. They're still a corn flour. This is a wheat flour. And nowadays you can get masa flour almost anywhere, and it's called maseca. Don't use corn flour that's not this type of corn flour, because they won't come out the same. Like, you can't use cornmeal or anything like that. Make sure that you use this brand. They have other brands, but this is the most popular brand that everyone uses. All right. Oops, almost burned it. Not paying attention. You have to pay attention to your tortillas or they will burn on you. All right, I'm going to turn that off for now until we're ready for the corn tortillas. Put that away. Okay. All right, let's get started with our corn tortillas. So our corn tortillas, grab a bowl here. Our corn tortillas do not get rolled out. So this particular brand, it gives you actually the instructions on the back on how much water to use, how much flour to use. But I am going to, one second. Use warm water, like with the flour tortillas. I'm going to use 2 cups. I'm only going to use 1 cup because I've already had some pre-made for you. So for every 2 cups of this, you'll use 1.5 cups of water. So for 1 cup, what do we use? Do your math. 3/4 of a cup of water. Izzy got that wrong, by the way. Okay. Not everybody uses baking powder in this. I do. Some people will tell you it's not good to use that, blah, blah, blah. I like to use a little bit of baking powder in there. Just a smidge. Just about, not even 1/8 of a teaspoon. Very little. Okay. And these are very special to me. These measuring spoons, they belong to my Papa Jim. He's a very good friend of mine that I met when I first moved up here. He was, I worked at the deli as a sous chef. He had a deli in Madison, and he left me a lot of things when he closed the deli, and now he's not with us anymore, but I like to think he's with me every time I cook. Okay, so we'll mix that up there, and then we just add the warm water. Same way that we made the flour tortillas. You just kind of work it with your fingers. This is gonna be, it's gonna be a little denser. It's not gonna feel as squishy as obviously the wheat flour. And you press it, it's very satisfying. It's almost like making Play-Doh, honest to God. Have you ever made homemade Play-Doh? And you just want it so that it's a good smooth texture to it. Not very hard to make. You want it to be still soft, not too hard. Okay. I find this very, very stress relieving. It's like one of my favorite things to do, but Izzy doesn't eat corn tortillas, so I only make flour tortillas most of the time. All right, so let's just say that that's already done. I've already pre-made another one, so we're gonna use that one. Now, how do we make these corn tortillas? We don't roll them out. Okay, we use this handy tool. I'm going to turn my burner back on here to get that warm. Now, if you don't have one of these, don't worry about it, but this is a tortilla press. Okay, and how this works, this is very, very old, is you take 2 pieces of plastic. We used to, back in the day, we used to use bread bags. With the bags that the bread came in, we cut them out and make circles and use those. But for here, we're just using regular plastic wrap. And you take a little ball of it, make sure that it's moist. My mom used to always keep some water handy, and she would moisten up her hands with it, just to keep the dough moist all the time. Roll it, and then give it a little press. Put it in the center. Fold your plastic over it. Make sure that it's even. Whoops. In the center there. And then you give it a press. And that will flatten out your tortilla. Gentle press. You don't want to press it too much because then it'll get too thin and then it'll cook weird. Now here's the tricky part, right? How do we get it off the plastic? Well, if you did them right, they should peel right off, just like that. All right, so the difference between this and the flour tortillas is how we lay them on the griddle. The flour tortilla, we just kind of flopped it on. This has to be laid down like that, okay? Now, if you don't have a tortilla press, don't panic. There's always other ways to press your tortillas. Just find yourself a good flat plate that has a good flat bottom like this. It has to be an even bottom. And we take our plastic anyway, right there. Let me move the tortilla out of the way so you can see that. And these corn tortillas will not bubble up. You'll just have to know that you'll have to learn to time it. Nope, not quite ready yet. All right. So, if we don't have a press, what do? Let me get my hands wet a little bit. Give it another roll. Whoops. I think it dried out a little bit when I left it sitting out too long, but here we go. Sometimes things don't work out for production, but here we go. All right, we got our little disc. We put it in the center, fold it over, and then we take our flat plate and we apply pressure in the center. Just apply pressure in the center until you think it's a good. We can check it. See, it still flattened it out. Maybe a little bit more, and just center pressure. Okay, not perfectly round, but it's okay. All right, so our tortilla I think is ready to be flipped over, and see, it just gets a little bit of brown flecks on it. Just let it cook a little bit longer. Look at these beautiful plates that my friend Kelly and her mama gave me for my birthday one year. I love donkeys and I love llamas, but look how beautiful and colorful these guys are. Aren't they awesome? They're almost too pretty to eat off of. But I'm gonna take one off and show you what the corn tortillas will look like. When I was little, I used to take these as soon as they came off the burner. Let me put the other one on first. But see, that's fine too, right? And I would pinch it just like that. It's hot. And then I would add butter to it. I loved it with butter. Just like that. And I would love to eat those that way. But they're perfect for, tacos, anything like that. It's a nice hearty tortilla. It's thicker than your traditional store-bought ones. They do keep for a couple of days. In my house, they never last that long. So I usually only make a couple. The flour tortillas, they will keep in the freezer for up to 4 months. But when you make sure that when you make them, though, if you have a lot left over, you have to take them and separate them and put a piece of parchment paper between them or they'll stick. And then after you do that, you wrap them in foil paper and then you stick them in a freezer bag and they'll last up to 4 months in your freezer. So that has been tortillas made Mighty-licious food way. I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your tortillas. We got one more left here. We're going to enjoy them. These are my favorite. Thanks again for tuning in to Mighty-licious Food. And if you want the recipes, please make sure you send me an email to mightyliciousfood@gmail.com. And see you next time when we make poblano chicken enchiladas. You won't want to miss that one. It's one of my favorite recipes. Cheers. Manja.